Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly. Thanks for joining us. Please stand by. The live event will begin shortly.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza, and I'm with our Vice President, Jack Narenberg. And we are honored to host the first Queens Bus Redesign meeting. And we are grateful that all of you have joined us tonight for this very important meeting to talk about the Queens Bus Redesign and the impacts it's going to have on our community. So many of you in the last 2 or 3 days have reached out to us about your concerns, and we all are here to help you at Passengers United. Our goal as facilitators is to help point out the information that you need and what you need to do to help get your bus service improved and changed. In the Queens Bus Redesign, a lot is at stake. And the Queens Bus Redesign will be a historic underachieving effort. So we all need to be involved. We all need to be engaged. And do not settle for less. That is what the MTA wants us to believe. The MTA wants us to believe they have no money. That's what we keep hearing. And, any loss of service is not a redesign. Let's make that clear. This is a service cuts, glorified service cuts is what it is. So I need all of you to stay engaged, pay attention. And right now, what I need all of you to do is I need you to tag on your social media this event. So let's do that. Let's copy and paste our YouTube link, share it on your Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Invite all your friends in. So let's do that while Jack speaks.
All right. First of all right, thank you, Charlton. As Charlton pointed out, I'm Jack Nierenberg. I'm the Vice President of Passengers United. And again, Charlton said it beautifully. Thank you so much for coming. Again, we are here to help you. This redesign effort should be for you and for you as a Queens bus rider. These are the buses that you rely on, and no one should be disadvantaged. No one should be adversely affected, and no one who's already suffering should be disproportionately affected as part of this redesign initiative. So our job in this state, in this program, is to really help elevate your voices and advocate for your needs. So please, we need a better turnout. I think we need to really emphasize that as many changes as the MTA made to this redesign initiative, we're not going to settle until it's done right. So we need to make sure that the MTA knows that we're not going to settle for anything that is subpar, that is not done with your needs in mind, that is not done actually putting you at the front of their efforts. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and so, I want to thank so many of you who helped us with our first bus report. So Passengers United, on no money, we were able to produce our first Queens Bus Redesign report, which we submitted last summer, I believe, right, Jack, to the MTA. And so where were the other organizations? They didn't submit a report, but we did. And I encourage all of you to go to our website. Jack, do you want to go through the website and show them
no
the
problem.
links? Let's just do that. And by the way, I think there's some people on Zoom who need to be let in.
All right.
So there's so much going on here. I see we have Yuki Endo, who's joining us from Japan. Oh, hello, Yuki. We all miss you, Yuki. And we also have David Kufferberg, our Vice President of Buses. David is going to be speaking in a few minutes about what his concerns are. But while we're speaking, as you can all see on the screen, we have our Passengers United homepage. And if you click on the yellow link where it says Queens Bus Redesign, you can actually see all of our information. So that's a homepage right now. And then you click on the green link and it takes you right to this. So it says, read the final plan, Addendum.
Yeah, so the final plan addendum just came out this week, and we are making that available to you in one click. So while the MTA makes you take several different clicks to get to their redesign initiative, if you go to our website, you go to the Queens Bus Network redesign portal, you click on this link, it's going to take you right there. So please read this and read it very thoroughly, because if there's something that's not working, and again, we are not going to settle for something that is not meeting your needs, especially if you are already disadvantaged, whether you're in a lower income area, you're in a majority minority community, or you are disadvantaged in other ways, whether you have a disability or mobility impairment. And you're already going to be disproportionately affected because the additional walk to the new bus stop or the new bus route is going to be around twice as long as it would for someone who's able-bodied. That is a disproportionate effect, and that needs to be known by the MTA, because clearly this plan is not going to work if it's not meeting your needs. And if that's going to continue to be a problem, you need to speak out for it, and we will help you do that. Charlton?
And real quick, I just want to point out something. So for all of you joining, welcome. And one thing I do want to say, when you submit your comments, if you're using Remix, please put in exactly what your comments are. For instance, I'll give you a perfect example. Avon Street and Hillside Avenue, the bus stop by Hillside Manor, senior medical facility is being eliminated. So obviously that's a case in point where you have a lot of medical personnel, healthcare workers, seniors who use that bus stop. And the Q43 Limited will no longer stop there. That is an issue. Neither will the Q2 or any of the other bus routes. So that's just Queens. But also I want you all to understand that if you live in Far Rockaway and you work at Long Island Jewish Hospital, you should not have to go through Jamaica and then go through Bayside to go back to where you were. And so we were fighting, and everyone's in agreement on this. The union, the bus operators, our elected officials, everyone wants a bus route from Far Rockaway all the way to either LIJ Hospital or Bayside for the Cardozo High School students and the Bayside High School students, and also students who go to other schools in that area. And Queens is a big borough, and so we need, mobility. And one thing I do want to stress in this plan is that a lot of young, able-bodied people from other organizations are going around saying there's nothing wrong with the bus redesign. Even the borough president, Queens Borough president, is saying that the bus redesign is a great plan, it's excellent.
I strongly doubt that he actually read the plan thoroughly.
Right. So he did not read the plan properly. We have feeling he did not. But what looks good on paper and looks nice, right? Everyone gets excited when they see a rush route, right? But what about the elderly, guys? And guess what?
Elderly and people with disabilities, remember that. I
And it-
just completed a preliminary study. This is kind of like a surface study that actually didn't go like in depth. There is limited information, but it does actually point us in the right direction as to what the disproportionate impacts are on people with mobility impairments. And that includes seniors, people with disabilities, etc. And what I found is that people with mobility impairments can take around twice as long to walk or travel from their origin or from their origin to the bus stops, that's what's called a first mile distance, as well as from the bus stop or whatever transit stop to their destination, which is called the last mile connection. And those two legs of the trip will be increasing twice as much, twofold, double for these people as they will for able-bodied people. So the MTA, I don't know what their metrics are because they did not make it clear to the public what their metrics are. All they did was list the populations that would be affected without actually putting in the metrics that they're supposed to be evaluating success for these populations. So that is not good. And as a result, we're ending up with a plan that is tailored toward a particular demographic and leaving out those who are in need the most and those who are the most vulnerable, and that is not okay.
And if Donovan Richards is here tonight or any of our staff members, please raise your hand and let us know if you're here. I don't think he is here. But I know Yuki is here. David Kufferberg, our president's here. David Kufferberg, why don't you take it away and let him speak? And then Jack, we have some people waiting. Get them in. All right, David, it's all yours. Take it away. David, can you hear us?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, David, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I think that most of these ideas are, I would say, just simply instead of expanding service, just shifting it around, and the extra money is just being used to, as I put it, to prevent service cuts. That's not acceptable.
Right. And there have been some changes. We're very concerned about the overnight service, and there's no night owl bus routes, specialized night owl bus routes from Queens to Brooklyn or Manhattan to Queens. And so we have the 32 and the 60. That's it. We need a route that runs down 42nd Street, goes to the Midtown Tunnel overnight, and then goes to Woodhaven Queens Center Mall. Something where it gets you there and then people can transfer to a local bus. We need to look at bus service differently overnight because the subways are messed up, and we all know the E and F trains are bad, 7 trains are bad, and the J trains are even worse. So, and the A trains too. And Far Rockaway, guys, we got you. Far Rockaway is often forgotten about. The Q22 is still not running overnight. In fact, they've shortened the Q22 now, and that is a big concern. Although they did extend the 22 to the Far Rockaway LIRR station, but they should have kept the 22 longer the way it is and extended it further down. Also, the 35 has been adjusted. That's a concern. What else, Jack?
Yeah,
Oh, the
just
QA.
number, yeah.
So the Q51 we heard is being taken over by Baisley Park Depot, and the 51 ends at Rockaway Boulevard, guys, just so you know. And the Q112, they have it running down Liberty Avenue, and that's the bus they want to go to Brooklyn. The Q8, they made changes to. This whole plan is a mess. It seems like they're just eliminating bus stops and rush routes, and that doesn't work. I'll give you a perfect example. So the Q43, after 179th Street Hillside, the next stop is 169th Street. What happens to people along the local portions of Hillside who want to go further down? And there's a lot more seniors who ride the bus, I would say between 188th Street and Supton Boulevard. You see a lot of seniors getting on. That needs to be corrected. There's some parts of the plan where you have a waste of bus resources. So I don't understand the logic of this. Like, for instance, guys, the 79 should be its own route, right? What they did was they have the Q36 going down Little Neck Parkway. Everything's a mess. So I don't want to go all over the place. I want to do this organized. So let's see who's on the call with us right now on the Zoom call. Is any of our Passengers United board members here?
Yeah, so we have, of course, David who spoke. Thank you so much. We have Yuki's here as well. We are waiting for some more people. Meanwhile, Frederick Wells is on the YouTube stream.
Oh, good old Frederick Wells. Hey, Frederick, how you doing? Let's see what comments are coming in on YouTube.
And he said that the addendum is unacceptable. He's on board a Q5. He relies on the Q44 to live and work. But I do want to make something very clear as to what the MTA should have been doing from the very beginning. What I noticed in the final plan, here we go. What I noticed in the final plan addendum is absolutely unacceptable. So back in April, I attended one of the open houses for the final plan, proposed final plan from December of last year. And I asked some of the members of the redesign team, how are you incorporating equity into the plan? Because they're saying that this is an equity-centered approach. They told me that they're going to be doing a Title VI analysis, which they're saying they're going to be going beyond Title VI. I don't know how much I should be believing that, but they're saying they go beyond Title VI because they incorporate more like demographics of interest. Okay, but they're going to be doing that at the end of the plan, and they said they're going to be releasing it. Okay, first of all, where? I couldn't find that for the Bronx plan, and that's a whole separate issue because I requested the Title VI analysis for the Bronx plan. They sent me one from Boston. Okay, so was it actually done? I don't know, but going back to the Queens plan, okay, they're going to do the equity analysis. I asked them, what metrics are you going to be using to evaluate equity and evaluate success for each of these populations that you've described in the final plan? You know what they told me? We don't know. We haven't figured that out yet. That is a big problem because if you don't evaluate that, then everything that you do from the starting point is going to be messed up because you never kept that in mind. And as a result, let me show you what they should have been doing from the process, from the get-go. This is what they should have been doing. So I have a couple slides from a presentation I did on the Bronx plan just recently, and that's where the study I was talking about, where people with mobility impairments are affected twofold. So here's what they should be doing. Charlton, you might want to see. Actually,
I'm trying to just check everything on the live to make sure we can get the audio.
Yeah, all right. Everything seems to be working here. All right, so this is what should be done. So any transit planning project that has the potential to discriminate against any population, this plan is certainly no exception, must center equity in the entire process. And this involves not only defining populations of interest like they did in the Queen's final plan and they outlined in the addendum, but also establishing clear metrics to evaluate success for each population of interest. And a population of interest could be, for example, let me actually pull up what they wrote for that, just to give you an example. So, for example, in their final plan addendum, and I'm reading this word for word. So on page number 9, they're saying that this was an equity-informed approach. The planning process has been informed by equity from the start of the project. Okay, I'm having trouble believing that. You didn't do that for the Bronx, but the MTA's team extensively studied demographic characteristics and equity areas of concentration, areas of concentrated need in the existing conditions report. The MTA's approach to equity expands beyond the federal requirements, examining a broader set of socioeconomic indicators. Okay, good. That's the first step. Now, step 2, evaluate metrics for success. Where are they? Where are they? Outline it. I want answers. What's going on? I asked this for the Bronx. You gave me Boston's plan. That's not right. You can't just plagiarize another transit agency's approach. It doesn't work like that. But let's keep going on. They're saying they're out in communities. No, they're in the most obscure areas, making people come to them. That's not going to where they need to be.
Jack, if I may,
Yeah.
one thing I do want to point out, is that the virtual meetings were poorly attended. In fact, one important point that I want to make, the Queensborough president, on the day of the public hearing in the summer, he had a press conference and attended the press conference and spoke to the media and tried to debunk what we were saying, right? And then when the public hearing was being held, he was not there in the room. That to me is unacceptable. And I'm sorry, guys. And a lot of elected officials did not attend either. They sent their representatives to come for the Queen's bus redesign. So I need all of you to take the passion and anger that Jack has and I have, and I need you protesting outside your elected official's office, asking them what is going on. Because you know what the elected officials are buying into? There's no money. That's what I keep hearing from MTA reps. Oh, there's no money to extend the Q43 to LIJ Hospital. Let's use some common sense here. The Department of Transportation, NYC Department of Transportation, has wasted money putting a bike lane on Queens Boulevard, which rarely gets used. That could have been a bus lane. Buses carrying more people than bicycles. So if you can have a bike lane for bicycles, what about buses, right? In this plan. And they've spent so much money on open streets. Billions is being spent on this. If you took just 25% of the money you're spending on open streets and put it towards the bus redesign, it will help. Now, one thing I do want to point out about Queens and Brooklyn is that the MTA bus company, the 7 private bus lines. So for the Q110, that would be Jamaica bus line. For the Q41 and Q60 and Q8 and Q7, that would be green bus lines. Triborough coach would be the 53. What would it be? The 53, the Q70, all those former bus lines. So what I want people to know is the city of New York basically gave up its rights over the private companies. They've made some deal with the MTA now that they can consolidate bus routes. And that's what we're seeing. Now, you're probably saying, Charlton, what are you talking about? Okay, I'll give you a point of example. Q110 bus, which goes to Belmont Park. It will no longer go there. It's now going to Floral Park. So what does that mean for overnight riders? There is no
Same
more.
thing with the Q82 or the 83.
So the 83 has no more night service to Queens Village. Neither the Q1 doesn't run anymore. That's an issue. The Q36 has no more overnight service. What the hell is going on in Leroy Comrie's district, guys? And this is something I've already spoken to Leroy Comrie, Clyde Vanell, and Natasha Williams about. Get it together, guys. Southeast Queens is a transit desert, but there's also parts of Astoria that's losing bus service. Long Island City is losing bus service. Though Q102 is no longer going to stop by the Queensbridge houses. That's an issue. So why is it that the MTA is basically consolidating and combining bus routes and shortening routes and eliminating bus stops?
Yeah.
That's the easy way to fix it.
What are they trying to accomplish? They didn't give any justification or any evidence that eliminating bus stops actually works. The only evidence we got with the Bronx plan, which they've eliminated only a quarter of what they're proposing, is that the bus speeds on average, I calculated the average for all the routes. You know what that average is? An increase of 2.9%. 2.9%. Okay. That's an increase, but it's barely noticeable. And when you eliminate the bus stops, people with mobility impairments don't enjoy that because of their doubled first and last mile connections to the buses. So they're not getting any of the benefit. In fact, they're being disproportionately adversely affected. So going back to what I was saying, what should be done? The populations of interest should be defined. They did that with Queens. They are saying that the populations of interest that they've defined are they're identified using a broader set of socioeconomic indicators, including the poverty level. That's good. Education, language proficiency, good. Vehicle ownership, commute time, race, age, and population with a disability. Okay, you put that in there. How are you evaluating?
I just found out a board member, Karina Nieves, Secretary Nieves, is on YouTube. Jack, can we get her on Zoom? Because I'm sure Karina has a lot to say
Absolutely.
about this, and a lot of our board members have a lot to say. Everyone is frustrated with this plan, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And there's several YouTubers out there who have done videos on the Queens Bus redesign. I will encourage you guys to network with us, because I think we should, all the YouTubers in Queens, we need to do a video combined, like on every bus route. And we are gonna be visiting all the bus routes, talking to people. We're gonna be doing a lot. And here's the bad news for all of you. So the MTA released this plan right before Christmas, when they know everyone's focused on the holidays and New Year's. And guess when the meeting is? On the 27th and 28th of January, and they're gonna approve this
Yeah.
in January.
When the chairman, when Jano Lieber promised that there was gonna be a public hearing, another public hearing, so he lied. If you're watching this, I hope you feel great about that, Jano. We're sick of this. We know what's going on. You said that there was gonna be more public engagement. Now, I know you didn't say how much, but that's still not okay. It's deceptive. You said that there was gonna be more to this. And by rushing this through, you're deliberately skirting the process, and it's not gonna end well for you. So let me just continue with one more thing.
At 7:35, we're gonna go to all of your comments.
All right, sounds great. 7:35, we will get right to you. But here's what should be done. Seniors and people with disabilities are a major population of interest. The Queen's Plan did outline them as one of them, but they didn't say how they're evaluating them, and they definitely didn't say to what extent their needs are actually being considered, considering that I don't care whether they're in the minority of Queens bus riders. Because of their vulnerability, their needs bear at least the same importance as those in the majority of bus riders. These people have a unique vulnerability. They have a unique disadvantage. And because of that unique disadvantage, their needs should be prioritized. Their needs should be prioritized in the plan in a unique way that actually satisfies them. Because by eliminating around 1,800 bus stops, as another one of our board members, Alan Rosen, who is also a former MTA bus planning director, he calculated this is going to be that the elimination of bus stops is going to be over 4 times the amount in the Bronx. So again, public engagement is critical. The MTA has been lacking. I don't care how many community board meetings they went to, or how many obscure spots in the middle of nowhere they went for the Queens Bus redesign public outreach, but it was abysmal because they were lightly attended, they were poorly advertised, and they're not actually factoring in that the public is not necessarily going to be like automatically gravitated to go to these meetings. The MTA should have been meeting the public where they are, instead of just assuming that the public's gonna be able to make it to a lightly attended town hall in the middle of nowhere. It just doesn't work like that. So I'm absolutely sick of this. And the bus speeds are not a metric that actually evaluates passenger trip times. That has been debunked over and over again, yet the MTA is insisting on using that as a metric. And they did that for the Bronx plan, and it was not accurate because they did not factor in the increased walking distance, the increased first and last mile distance that people have to travel, and especially people with mobility issues. Yes, there are a lot of assisted living facilities and senior homes and hospitals, but that doesn't factor in that not everyone who has a disability or has a mobility impairment lives there. You can't just make assumptions like that. And I want to know what was going on behind closed doors with this plan. It is unacceptable. What's been going on, how much of a tongue-in-cheek attitude they had this whole time, basically saying, oh, we're the planners, so we know what's best for the Queens riders. No, The riders know what's best for them. You don't know anything. You learn from them. That's how it works. And if I'm angry, that's exactly what I am, because we've been over this over and over again. So I know it's 7:31. We're waiting for a few more people to come on. I'm going to check the YouTube stream to see who's on, whether any more comments have come in. Anyone else have any comments, either on YouTube or in the Zoom call? Anyone else? We'll definitely be, getting more people. We're waiting for a few others to be trickling in as well.
Okay,
but
the
this
audio is
not okay.
working. I just checked. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. I had to check if the audio is working outside, because I don't want it to interfere. Everything is working. Why don't we talk about, so why don't we go to the comments on YouTube? Because I know Frederick Wells has comments. We're going to do a quick rundown of the routes that are going to be impacted in a few minutes. But real quick, let's get some public feedback. What are the comments coming in?
All that Frederick is doing well.
Okay, and Karina, do you have any comments, Karina? Karina Nieves, our secretary, and she's our secretary on our board of directors. Alan Rosen, I believe, is on the YouTube stream. I know it's the holidays, guys, so everyone's at parties and events while we're doing this, so there's a lot going on today. And just a quick note, today is Friday. So as you're watching this, today is Friday, December 20th. After this event is over, at about 9:45 to 10 p.m., Passengers United will be riding the subways. We're doing an overnight subway ride with community stakeholders and the media. So we'll have more on our YouTube channel about that. No comments as of yet.
No, but Alan's here. So
Alan, did Alan want to share something? Let Alan jump in.
wonderful. Alan, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to say anything?
Alan's on our board of directors. Alan, take it away, Alan.
Yes, sorry I'm late. I'm on vacation and the restaurant was very slow serving the food.
No problem. You're good.
Okay.
Alan, any comments on the plan overall?
Well, I wrote you about the bus stops. They've increased the number of bus stops that they're eliminating. They added another 300-400 bus stops. So now the total is 1,800.
Alan was saying, because we're having a bit of an audio technical, in case you couldn't hear. So 300 to 400 bus stops, if I'm understanding
It was
right.
400 in the Bronx. Around
Queens,
400.
so about Queens.
In Queens. So basically, if we're understanding you right, it was around 1,400 before this. Now they've increased it to 1,800. Is that right?
It's a little less than 1,800, yes.
Okay.
So it's a little less than that, but again, guys, bus stop eliminations, and why don't we go to some of the routes? Since we were asking for the comments. Alan, any comments about Queens to Brooklyn bus routes? Because Alan specializes in Brooklyn.
Yes, I proposed many times a new local bus route from Sheepshead Bay Station to Reese Park, and I just sent it as a letter to 3 Queens newspapers today. I mean, if they ran, they could probably do it with like 2 buses, because it's a 20-minute ride from Reese Park to Sheepshead Bay Station, and currently it takes up to an hour and a half to 2 hours and double fare. And that's the whole purpose of a bus redesign, was to reimagine the system to make such improvements. And instead, what they've done is, I think everything they've done is they scaled everything back from their initial plan, and just removed some good parts because of some objections, and they didn't replace them with any new alternatives.
Right, and so that is an issue. Obviously, I think that's a great idea, Alan. In fact, I used to work, a little side note, guys. I'm very familiar with the Kings Plaza area and over there by Far Rockaway. I used to work at Sleepy's, the mattress professionals growing up. So I used to take the A train, believe it or not, to Beach 116th Street, take the Q35. It was actually quicker to get to Kings Plaza Mall. So I see what Alan's saying. That's a great idea to have a bus from Sheepshead Bay. But Sheepshead Bay would go on the Belt Parkway, right, Alan?
It would use the Belt Parkway for one exit, and
Exit.
they've just rebuilt that portion of the Belt Parkway. So for a good portion of it, they can have an exclusive bus line along the shoulder. And the westbound direction is about 400 feet, needs to be improved, and that can be done like in 2 days.
That's a great idea. I think that really is a great idea.
And,
And
and,
now,
and when I mentioned it to Mark Holmes, when he was no longer in charge of the project, he admitted that that was a gap in the system, and it was something that was needed.
yeah, and Mark Holmes, I know Mark Holmes is going to be watching our video. He follows us and is very engaged. Mark Holmes, guys, you know, he used to be the Queen's bus director. He did a lot of great stuff. He had a lot of great ideas. But again, you know, this is what we're dealing with the MTA guys. A lot of the Queen's director who's running it now, she's from San Francisco, guys. And many of the staff members don't even live in Queens. We're doing the bus redesign. In fact, one of our members, Farhan Sharif, pointed out there was an error in the last bus redesign for Queens where Huxley was, it wasn't properly designed. And he had to tell the MTA that that street, the bus couldn't go through that street. And it's obvious they're using Google Maps.
Yeah, it's obvious they're not actually going into the community as they should, except for when they go into the middle of nowhere in the most obscure places for a pop-up event. It's unacceptable. It's very clear that I want to know what their process was.
And you know what I would have done differently, guys? I'm sure Alan will agree and all of you watching will agree. What they should have done, they should have wrote every bus route, and the new bus routes that they're designing, they should have had a test bus do the run, see the time, and actually have real passengers, like pay passengers, to get on the bus, do test runs to see if these routes actually work. But look at the distance between the bus stops. So that is our biggest concern. I think they need to restore a lot of the bus stops that are being cut in this plan. Because in the summertime, it's one thing, telling people you could walk. In the wintertime, it's unacceptable. And especially, you know, where I live in Belmont Park, I'm sorry, guys, I'm a bit biased. We are a transit desert in Southeast Queens. Everybody knows that. And the fact that you cannot get from Bayside to Far Rockaway on one bus, down Springfield, or even down Francis Lewis is like a whack-a-mole. It's like, what the hell, you know? And one thing we didn't see in this new plan that was released is a third transfer. We've been asking for that at Passengers United. I think a lot of people
Just to
will
create
go
more
for
double
that.
fare zones.
Right. It would make
Because
sense.
this whole plan is creating barriers for access for those who really need the exact opposite. It's creating barriers of access for people in transit deserts. It's creating barriers of access for people with mobility impairments. And as I was mentioning earlier, I don't know if you saw, Alan, but the preliminary study that I did calculated, it used some of the extreme constants for first mile and last mile connections. And it found that people with mobility impairments can spend around double the time traveling from their origin to the transit stop or the transit stop to their destination. So by eliminating the bus stops, it's affecting them twofold.
So why don't we just do this? Karina Nieves is on Zoom, I believe. Secretary Nieves, did you want to say something about the Q10 and the 37? Go ahead. Or any other bus route, join on in.
Karina, are you there?
You're on mute, you're muted, Karina. Yeah, I think she's muted. Okay, so Yeah.
Can I, can I just make one or two more points?
Yes,
for
go
sure.
ahead, Alan.
In the Bronx, they eliminated 400 stops, but they had to return 150 of them due to complaints. Now, imagine what's going to happen in Queens. If they have to return 500 stops out of the 1,800 stops, look at all the money that they'd be wasting.
I agree. And I did want to say one thing, if I may,
Yeah.
guys. I actually have spent the last few days in Pop City, the Bronx. I've been doing trips out there by bus. One of the things I noticed with the Bronx bus redesign, bus stops with bus shelters were eliminated. And that's the same thing they're doing in Queens too. And they're not restoring the new bus shelters to the new bus stops where they're, so that's an issue. And, when it rains, when it snows, so we need to consider that. I did talk to the bus shelter company and they told me they actually have a loss. They're claiming to me that they lose money on the bus shelters. So I think the city council needs to go back to the drawing board and look at the funding for city bus shelters. Every bus stop in Queens should have a bus shelter. Whether it be a small one, a tiny one, there should be something there. One of the things I noticed with the Bronx bus redesign, a lot of the bus stops are not properly marked. They don't have the yellow painting on the sidewalk. That's an issue. So I guess we weren't able to get Karina. We lost Karina.
I think she said she'll come on soon.
Oh, she'll come on soon.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
If-
So why don't we do
if-
this? Go ahead,
If,
Alan.
if there isn't a bus shelter, there needs at least to be a bench.
I agree. Why don't we do this at 7:43? We promised all of you we were gonna try to keep this on time. Let's go to the bus routes where we're having issues in the plan. Let's pull up the plan. Let's show everyone. All right, so let's go to the first bus route.
Which one's the first one?
Q1,
In Remix or the
the
Addendum?
bus plan. Pull up the bus map. All right, guys. So the Q1 is now a limited route, right? And here's where we have issues with the Q1. So everybody see that portion where it says, wait a minute. Yeah, so the Q1 used to start at two places, Braddock Avenue, and used to also start at Queens Village LIRR. Both those portions have been eliminated. And the way they have it going down Braddock. What I think they should have done with the Q1, in my opinion, is they should have had it going the same way. They should have had it going down Jamaica like a loop and then coming up Springfield, turning into some sort of loop. And what they did with so let's go to the Q2. And the Q1 doesn't run overnight anymore, guys. So the Q2, which is my route, I know I'm biased, guys, I'm sorry. They've gone and screwed the Q2 up. So as you can see, where if you look carefully by 169th and 179th, they only have stops at those two stations. And there's a stop at 188th Street. All the in-between stops at Hillside Manor, that's all been eliminated. And even the stops along 188th Street have been eliminated, which means those people do not have a bus now. That's an issue. And so what I need you to understand, when you're looking at this plan, look at the bus stop eliminations, right? And just look at and you can see the distance between many of them. So let's go to the Q3 real quick. And the Q2 is running overnight, guys. So the Q3, surprisingly, they've kept it as a local. This is actually one of the routes where they should have had a local and a limited bus, because a lot of airport workers are constantly, there's a lot of traffic on Farmers Boulevard. I'm surprised they didn't do something. All the other routes are rush and limited, except the Q3. So I wonder what the thinking behind that was. I like the fact that it's still going to JFK Airport. It's actually, the overnight service is getting better on the Q3. But one thing we have to consider with all these bus routes is that whatever frequency you're seeing in these reports during the day or at night, please take into consideration buses get canceled all the time. Like on the Q2, in the afternoon, we're supposed to have 4 to 5 buses. In reality, there's only 2 or 3, sometimes 2, and running on any given time. So sometimes you could only have 4 or 5 buses out on the whole line. So we need to take that into consideration. Bus driver shortages, equipment shortages, that has been a big issue even in Staten Island. So let's go to the Q4 real quick. And the Q4 to Cambridge Heights is now a rush route. They do have overnight service on the Q4, thank God. And this was also one of the free routes that had been piloted, during this year. It ended in October. So far, everything's looking good on the Q4. There are some concerns in the limited portion. I think they should reinstate 2 or 3 of the bus stops over there. And what they should have done was, so what they did with the Q4 is they consolidated the local and the limited service. There used to be 2 variations of it. Now there's only 1 service, and it's called a rush route, which runs at all times, if I'm reading this right. Correct, Jack?
That's what they're saying.
Yep. So the good news is the frequencies somewhat better, somewhat okay, based on what we're seeing. So that is a transit desert. Oh, one thing with the Q4 that they're not doing, they're not extending it into Nassau County. They should have extended it to Dutch Broadway to connect with the N1. Same thing with the Q2. They could have extended the Q2 where the N1 ends. Sometimes like our friend says, what's his name? Mark Holmes, is that just because there's a borderline or a county line, you don't end the bus there. You always want to extend the bus where there's connection. We agree with him. So I remember he did give me that word of advice. All right, let's look at the Q5. So the Q5 is a proposed route summary. The Q5 doesn't go to Green Acres Mall anymore, which I really think it should. And the frequencies on Merrick, they do have several routes running on Merrick, Jack, pull up the service frequencies. So the good news is the Q5, actually, we saw the Q5 used to run every 30 minutes in the existing period. Under the redesign plan, it's actually going to be running, sorry guys, I can't see this, every 48 minutes. That's no good. It should be running every 30 minutes. That is a transit desert over there. They need more bus service. So that is something that's a big issue out there. I know some of the electeds were complaining there's too much service on Merrick, but they actually do need more service out there. They do. That's a bit of a transit desert there. What they should have done with some of the routes on Merrick, they could have had one route going down Springfield, maybe. It would have been nice if we had a route from maybe Green Acres Mall that goes down Merrick and then goes down Springfield and then maybe turns by Andrew Jackson and goes that way. That could have worked. So I don't know, guys. Let's look at the next one. Q6, Supton Boulevard. So guys, yesterday I was actually on the Q40 bus. The other part of Queens where the Q6, the Q7, the 41, and the 40 is, those routes are seeing heavy, very heavy ridership. And I don't know if it's because the buses are so late or because they have I've been told a lot of runs are not going out in GFK bus depot, and that is a big issue. I was on a bus yesterday where literally I was literally holding on for dear life by the door, guys. That's how crowded the Q40 was. We were all crushed to the door in the front. So that tells you that.
I think what troubles me though is in this, they're listing a lot of the bus stop eliminations along Rockaway Boulevard as removed due to new routing, but there is no new routing. I'm just wondering, was that an error, or is there something else they're not telling us? I don't know.
No, there is some new routes being put there. Let's
On
go
the
to the
Q6,
Q7.
because it's the exact same route. They're just eliminating every other bus stop, basically.
So the Q1 will not be operating overnight, David. I don't know where you saw that. Because I looked to the plan, unless they made an update to that since we last reported it. But when I looked at it, the report, the day it came out, it said the Q1 was not operating overnight.
Oh, but I have it up right now in front of me, and it does say
Maybe they did an
24
update
hours.
on that.
They must have updated it.
It's running 24 hours. Okay, wow.
That's the Q7. But...
No, oh, sorry. Go to the Q1. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. So now it is running 24 hours. So they must have made some adjustments. They did send us an email telling us the adjustments.
Yeah, after they put it out, they sent an email.
Yeah. By the way, we're hearing interference. Alan, can you please mute? Thank you. All right, so let's go to the next one. Where will we? Q7?
Yeah, we got that. Where is it? I think we did the Q7, did we? Oh, here it is.
Yeah. So the Q7, there's been some changes on the Q7. Let's zoom in on the map. So there'll no longer be service along Pitkin or Sutter Avenue. It won't be stopping at Grant Avenue or Euclid Avenue anymore. It'll just be straight down Rockaway Boulevard. So it starts at 150th over there, right on the gate at the airport. And I think that's Lefferts Boulevard, if I'm right, Jack? That should be Lefferts. Doesn't show it properly on the map, but.
No, Lefferts is right here.
Oh, sorry, guys. Yes, I'm right. It is on 150th. And then it goes straight down Rockaway Boulevard. And then it goes by the Crown Plaza, Congo Plaza Road, and 148th Street. So that's a discontinued portion as you're looking at. It's gonna go down it's gonna go up 150th, make a left on Rockaway Boulevard, and then it's going all the way down Rockaway Boulevard. Let's look at the overnight service portion. Will there be overnight service? Let's look. Okay, there will be. Very good. Okay, very good. So now let's look at the Q8, 101st Avenue. Oh, this is the route where we had issues. So wait a minute, guys. They did update this report. So the report that they released, that we've been reading, they've updated it because I could have sworn when I saw the Q8, it was not going to Gateway Center Mall. Now all of a sudden it is going back to Gateway Center Mall. This is what I'm talking about, guys. This is how people get confused. So it is going to Gateway Center Mall. Okay, very good. And let's just look to see if there's overnight service.
There is not, no.
That's the issue, guys. There should be, I think it should run later. Let's just put it that way. Because the mall is closed overnight. Maybe what they should do instead is run the Q8 to where the plan that we saw a few days ago, where they were going to have it end at the 3-line station overnight. Maybe they could do that. Maybe that would work. All right, and the bus stop saw a lot. Let's go to the Q9.
We're still, yeah.
So the Q9, let's look at that. Jamaica to Ozone Park. Now the Q9 has become a rush route, and it's actually going to 179th Street, surprisingly.
That's 169.
169. I'm sorry, guys. I can't see. It's a small screen here. So, okay, that's some good news, guys. It does connect along Jamaica Avenue. We're going to have to see how this works out, guys. This is one of the newly designed routes that they've created. Jack, did you want to say anything about this?
Yeah, what really bothers me, though, is that even though they kept the existing route, they're still adamant about the bus stop eliminations. And if we look at a lot of the routes right now, the existing bus stop spacing, if we consider the 2010 guidelines for bus stop spacing, it's 750 feet. This is 819 feet. So it's already greater than what the 2010 standards were calling for.
Good point, Jack.
And now they're proposing at least 1,100 feet. Especially if we look at the Q9 first, not the Q9, the Q8, for example, it's already 920 feet. What's the logic in this? So I don't know what metrics they're using to justify the bus stop eliminations, but it's not going to go well for them. I'm just saying that.
And guys, we are prepared to sue the MTA. We have to. We're working on that. And we are prepared to make a big ruckus. Believe me. Oh, y'all haven't seen the fun we're getting ready to start. Oh, we're getting ready to start some big fun with the MTA. It's going to get real crazy, guys. It really is. So
For the Charlton, for the
David,
Q9,
please don't interrupt. Thank you, David. We're
something.
trying to get through the plan. All right, let's go to the next
Karina
one.
did have a
All right.
point. Karina, you
Go
want to
ahead, Karina. Yeah.
mention anything?
No, well, start the presentation on Q10 and then I want to comment.
Okay.
right,
Karina's fired up. All right,
Alrighty, we're
Karina.
getting there.
Q10 JFK Airport rush route. Karina, take it away. Oh boy. Karina's got a lot to say here. We need to start back.
Yeah, so
Karina.
already
Yes.
some folks in Kew Gardens are very upset about stops being eliminated. Kew Gardens is where the hill starts and they're only keeping Metropolitan and the stop that's next to the LIRR, which is Austin Street. They are not keeping any other stops. And then the only bus shelter there's only 2 bus shelters in that part of the area for Kew Gardens. So some people are already kind of pissed off about that. Especially there's a lot of apartment buildings that a lot of seniors live in, and getting up the hill is not very easy access for a lot of people. And then MTA did make a point back in the open house that they thought the Q10 bus was confusing for outsiders, but the people who take the bus all the time, it's not confusing. It's pretty clearly stated on the bus which bus is going to which location. That's why the bus that went to South Ozone Park was on Queens Boulevard, and the bus that was going to JFK Airport was on Kew Gardens Road. So they now are making the bus two different buses, the Q10 and the Q80. So they're just going to make it more confusing for folks that take the bus. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Karina. It just emphasizes the point. Who is this bus network redesign even for? It should be for the riders who rely on it, but clearly the MT is not focusing on that.
Yeah, sorry, Karina, I had to check something. Yeah, Karina, I heard your comment. Yeah. And they've also created a Q80 bus. Now, why is the Q10 and the Q80 and all these routes that go to JFK Airport so important, especially the Q3, is because people need bus service. Airport workers depend on bus service. The air train is too expensive. If airport employees got free access to the air train, that would be a separate story. But airline employees and airline workers have to pay $8.50, or they have to pay, what is it, $40 for a 30-day unlimited. That's unacceptable. So, Karina, any other points or bus stop eliminations?
No, I think it's a pretty long distance for the Q80, which is going to be the locals. They say it's limited, but it has some of the local stops. But it's a very long distance between those blocks.
Wow, yeah. Do you want to go through the bus stop eliminations on Q80?
Yeah, what I did want to also mention is that even on the quote unquote limited portions of these bus routes, there's still local portions, and you're still disproportionately affecting the most vulnerable bus riders. The MTA has clearly forgotten who rides the buses, and they're clearly not factoring in where they need to go and what their needs are. All they're saying, as Alan's said before, is, oh, we'll consider it. We'll consider their needs. Well, what are you evaluating? They did not release that, and I'm trying to get answers right now. And that's the same thing with the limited routes, is that you still see gaps of 6 to 7 blocks in a local portion. It's a local portion, and you're assuming people can walk.
All right, Jack, let's not get a
All right.
tangent. See, we're all angry. We're all
Yeah.
fired up though.
But
All right.
I'm just getting to your point that
Yep.
the Q80 as a limited service, the average spacing is over 1,350 feet, over 1,363 feet for a local portion.
That
is unacceptable.
Alan, you want to jump in? Alan's the expert on this.
There's a lot of music here, so I don't want to disturb you.
Okay, sorry, Alan. All right, so let's keep it
No
moving. Let's
problem.
go to the
We
next
do
bus
have
route. We have
a couple more
comments?
chats, I know.
Okay, let's
Uh,
read the comments real quick.
All right, I remember Alan, you mentioned if any of you read New York Transit forums, not the Facebook group, there's a very detailed route by route discussion. Interesting, we'll definitely check that out. Karina's wondering, did they change the plan due to discussions with politicians and the bus stations?
Interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah,
keep reading.
that's a question.
Oh.
Do we know whether that was a result of the changes?
All right, guys, so there's a couple of things I didn't tell you. I actually saw the plan before it came out. And it's obvious to me that the first report that they released that afternoon, there were changes made to it. That's what explained that email that I got from the MT the day before. So this is a hot mess. So they say one thing and then they switch it and they change it. Oh, boy. So there was a meeting with the elected officials before this plan came out. Elected officials were arguing with members of the MTA. There was arguments breaking out because many of the elected officials in Southeast Queens wanted a bus route that goes from Far Rockaway to Bayside. Union members also want this. Parents of school children also want this. And so what's really going on right now, everyone in Queens is just fighting to save whatever they can. This is what the MT has done. It's created a circus-like atmosphere, right? Only the powerful will survive. This is the crap that's going on.
Yeah, and for what?
Yeah, and we
For
should
what?
not be begging for crumbs, guys. We should not be begging for crumbs. This is what general labor and the MTA, and don't even get me started on these so-called advocacy orgs. We're not even gonna go there. Many of them are praising this plan and calling it a great plan.
Which they've never read it, and it's not gonna, again, I'm gonna repeat
That's
this.
criminal
I'm not
what
gonna
they're
say
doing.
anymore, but it's not gonna end well for them.
Yep, all right, let's keep moving,
All
Jack. Where are we now?
Did you wanna go through every route? Cause there is a lot.
Okay, so can we go on the routes that, let's
All right,
do,
which ones are the ones that are,
so let's focus, so there is some good news. I know Judy Birdie is watching. Let's talk about the Q102 in Roosevelt Island. Let's jump ship and go there. Let's talk about the 102. Guys, I know when we do these meetings, we're all over the place, we're crazy. This is what you all like, so we try to keep it exciting and lively, because this thing can get boring when you're looking at these routes and all the data. So the good news is the Q102, well, there's some good news and bad news. The good news is it's still going to Roosevelt Island. It is going to Queens Plaza. However, the 102 will not be stopping in front of the Queensbridge houses. That is an issue. Also, it's not going up to Astoria on 27th. I think the Q102 actually works. This plan that they have is not everything we wanted, but it's okay.
and why do you think it works?
Because it's a straight interline route and it avoids the traffic. It avoids all that traffic over there on 21st Street. But I think what they should have done with this route is people have complained to me there's no overnight service on the 102. That is an issue. Judy Birdie, who lives in Roosevelt Island, saw the plan. She did express some concerns, but she said that it's stopping at Queensborough Plaza and it is stopping at 20, going further down to the G, which is actually good because some people on Roosevelt Island do take the G train at Court Square. So that works. At least it's connecting to multiple stations, whereas before it was only connecting to Queens Plaza and
The Astoria line.
Astoria, 21st Street, Queensbridge. So I think maybe they could have had it stop by 21st Street, Queensbridge, but I don't know what street it could have gone on. Also, somebody had suggested to me having it run down Vernon Boulevard. There's no traffic up there. This gets tricky and dicey, guys. So the only thing that is safe to say with the Q102, they really need to have it running overnight, because when the F train breaks down, and remember the tram doesn't run overnight. So that means you're trapped on the island. Jack, you wanted to add anything to the frequencies?
Especially if the elevators are out at Roosevelt Island, which quite often they are, and I've seen the elevators out quite a bit. So the buses are all that people have, especially if the tramway is not working. The Roosevelt Island buses don't go off Roosevelt Island. So again, we can't make assumptions about
Also,
who rides the bus.
so Real quick, I just realized, Judy did tell me it's not going down to the Tata Innovation Center or Roosevelt Island. That to me is a big boo-boo because the Tata Innovation Center is very busy over there. That's where the new campus is. I think the bus should go down there. I really do. Because some people, the wintertime, they get off the train at Roosevelt Island. They might want to take the bus to go that one stop. I'm just putting that out there. So I think that the bus should go down to the Tata Innovation Center. I know there's been some back and forth with Roosevelt Island, but some people didn't want it going there, but I think it should because that is an emerging center. Jack's been there, I've been there, it's big, it's a big building. And again, guys, we're gonna work with the Roosevelt Island community to look at the adjustments, but I really think at most overnight, the bus should run every 30 minutes. So now let's talk about Northern Boulevard. So Northern Boulevard, they've created 3 new routes on Northern Boulevard. Let's just go there real quick, and it's 8:07 now. So the Q66 is now a local. It runs between Flushing and Long Island City, okay. But let's look at the service gap frequency, the average stop spacing. Jack, is that acceptable?
I want to know what the other routes are.
Okay, so let's go to the other route.
So they're having a new Q63.
Let's look at that.
So it seems that they're dividing service between the 2 routes, and that might explain the gap, but it would only work if the timing is right.
And they do have a bus lane on Northern Boulevard now. And the problem with the 66, as we've seen in the past, they keep bus bunching. And you know what? A lot of issues in Queens are bus bunching. They have GPS on all the buses. Why is it the bus command center is not properly spacing out these buses? If a bus trip is missing, they need to work on that. Would you agree, Jack, that that's an issue?
Yeah, but it's not an issue that can be solved necessarily by disenfranchising people with mobility issues. That has to be addressed another way.
Exactly.
You can't just use that as an excuse.
So let's look at the
cut bus
proposed, so the existing was not available, but let's look at the service frequency is now on the Q66 local. I just want to see if it's going to run overnight. And the Q66 runs every 30 minutes now. And it will be running every 30 minutes. I actually think the 66 should run every 15 to 20 minutes, guys. Let's say we can put an extra bus on the 66, because when the 7 train breaks down, a lot of people use the 66. And a lot of people who don't want to go to Roosevelt Avenue and walk on those dark streets, they rely on the 66. A lot of food service workers, delivery workers. So I think the 66, in my opinion, should run every 15 to 20 minutes overnight. What do you think, Jack?
I find it interesting also. Well, we definitely need overnight service, but I also find it interesting how they are keeping pretty much all the bus stops, most of them on the 66, but yet they're cutting so many everywhere else. They're only removing.
No, because they already removed bus stops in the Q66. They did that last year, actually.
Yeah, but without any explanation?
Yeah, a lot of seniors had issues about that. And I did ride the Q66. I did see that route, guys. And literally the bus stops was very close. In this case, I would actually say, based on input from community board members and people, Jack Allen saying they already moved 20 stops on the Q66. Yeah, they did. That's why in this plan they didn't. They just kept the stops as is. But I also think many bus stops need bus shelters on the Q66 and better lighting. That could be an issue. And maybe they should give them a third transfer on the 66. Overnight, I could see the 66 extended to 2nd Avenue and 60th Street. I could really see, I think they should do that overnight.
Well, they already cut the Q101.
Right, let's go to the Q101, yes. That's the route I wanted to talk about. Oh boy. Jessica Ramos is not gonna be happy about this along with AOC. So the Q101, unfortunately, guys, we lost. The Q101 is not gonna go to Steinway Street. And I'm gonna tell you now, that is a big screw up on the MTA spot. Q101 should go to 2nd Avenue and 60th. If anything, I really think they should extend the Q101 to go to 59th Street Columbus Circle. Because demographics are changing now, things are changing. And, but having it running under the way they have it running now, they have it running down Steinway Street, which is perfect. But in their plan, they have it running down Steinway, then Jackson Avenue, down to Vernon Avenue. So basically what they're trying to do, and this indicates to gentrification, because that area in Astoria now is very gentrified, and they're trying to connect the other gentrified area with the other gentrified area. Looking at this plan, all those new buildings opening up in Long Island City. What do you have to say, Jack?
It just goes to show how they're really catering to new residents and leaving out the not only existing ones, but those who are struggling to make ends meet and actually struggling to remain in the city.
So we're
it's
gonna
clear who
fight.
they're catering to.
So we're gonna fight to save the Q101. We'll get that bus route restored. We'll speak to the electeds. The Q101 is a lifeline. And one thing I do want to point out, the reason why the Q101 has to go in the city, because the N as a Nancy train and the W and those two trains are always breaking down, and people have to take the Q60, the M60, I'm sorry, to go into Manhattan via 125th Street in the mornings. That for some reason, the N and W every morning breaks down, and it leaves like 30-minute gaps, 40-minute gaps. People are disgusted in Astoria. We know, guys. And so that 101 was a lifeline. I actually used to take the 101 overnight when I used to go out to parties in Astoria. It's a whole other story. And they have some good restaurants out there, but the restaurants and the small businesses, they need better night bus service. Is the Q101 running overnight? It is, right?
Yeah, same as before.
Same as before. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The new route that they have that's
The
running
98?
down. Yep. Let's go to that one.
Or the 90.
90. Let's do that one. Flushing, Rego Park, Ridgewood. Oh, the 90. Yeah. So guys, there is some bad news. The Q50, which went to the Bronx, which went from Co-op City, which actually is a limited in the morning to Co-op City, that service still remains. Let's go to the Q50 first, and then we'll get to the Q90, because I want to show people real quick. Just stay with me, people. Stay with us. I know it's 8:13. I know you guys are all. So there is some good news and bad news with the Q50. They did add, so the Q50 is going to run overnight in this plan, which is excellent. Okay, I'll give them that. However, it's not going all the way to Co-op City. Most times it's only going to end at Pelham Bay subway station. That is an issue. It needs to go to Co-op City. I've spent the last few days in Co-op City overnight, traveling through there, and that area is so big. They definitely need, because when you take the BX23 and you have to get off at Pelham Bay to get the Q50, you have to wait 30 freaking minutes for the next Q50. And then by the time you get to Main Street Flushing, you've missed your connecting bus and you take the 27. So that's an issue. And in this plan, the Q50 will not be going to LaGuardia Airport, which is a big boo-boo. So what they've done now, they've created a smaller route. And I think the thinking behind that and the rationale behind that was they wanted a short route to go from Flushing to LaGuardia so they could keep it manageable and control it because of the traffic. I think that's the thinking behind the Q90, which we're looking at right now. Jack, did you want to jump in?
I think if anything, at the very least, there should be a free transfer between the 50 and the 90. Because if this was promised and people liked it, if people wanted this, but it's not possible because of operational issues, which is what the addendum is stating, there should at the very least be a free transfer between the two routes.
Yeah, that's another thing. In the Bronx bus redesign, they did have a third transfer, but it was not announced in the plan. In this bus if I was the MT and I was doing this bus redesign plan, I would have created a yellow, remember those transfer symbols from the 1980s? Those yellow transfer symbols? I would have created it in the Queens bus redesign plan that had a yellow symbol. So basically, people would know that's the location on the grid where you would get a third transfer. Or you could with Omni, they can do this. They can program it where it can be accepted anywhere, third transfer. But I just think to show people on the redesign plan where if they had to do a third transfer, where they could do it. Would you agree? This would be a case where they could do a third transfer. Because let's say if you were in Co-op City and you took the BX23, then you got off at Pelham Bay to get the Q50 to Flushing, and then you got the Q90. That would be the Q90 would be the transfer, right?
think so.
Yeah.
Well, they should just have a third transfer everywhere.
For everyone, but I'm just trying to make an example of that. All right, let's go to the Q110, because I know we're running short on time. Let's hit the Q110. So this is my home route, guys. You know I'm biased, guys. I gotta look out for my people in Queens Village, guys. I'm sorry. So the Q110, the MTA personally has screwed me over, screwed our residents over, but it's okay because I'm gonna be going to war with all the electeds in the neighborhood. The Q110 is not ending at UBS Arena. So all these electeds dumped UBS Arena in our community. We didn't want it there. They put it there anyway. Now they're cutting the bus service back. So what bus service is there? The Q2 and the Q82. Now, the bad news overnight is the Q83 is not running. I just wanna, since I'm on this, the 83 has no longer night service. The Q110 is running overnight. Jack, can we see if they adjusted the 83? Let me see something, because maybe they adjusted this. Is the 83 running overnight? No, it's not. So I was right. Yeah,
It is, but not that.
Yeah, the 83 is running overnight to Cambridge Heights, but it's not running to the Queens Village LIRR. So a lot of people who used to live in that vicinity by Hempstead, Jamaica, sometimes people would either take the 83 or the Q110 overnight. The fact that the 83 is not running there overnight raises concerns because let's say if the Q2 is canceled for the night and the Q110 is canceled, or the only other option is 83 and we don't have that. So the 36 is running overnight. I just want to go real quick and check it. Just want to see. Because I believe in the plan I saw the 36 was not running overnight.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so I was right. The Q36 is no longer running overnight. That's an issue. 36 needs to run all night. Okay, we should be getting better service, guys, not less. Not less. We should not be begging for crumbs. Okay, this is what the MT does. They want us to fight with each other. Yeah, but the weekend service is going to Little Neck Parkway? Because I don't think it is. Let's see. It's only weekday service, right? That goes to Little Neck Parkway?
They're saying that is 7 days a week.
Oh, it is. Okay. Oh, so they're restoring. Okay, wow. So that formerly used to be the Q79. There's also, so this is good, but let's look at the Q110 real quick. So one thing I want to point out to the MTA, you have the Q82 bus running, right? But the problem with the Q82 and the Q110 is when the Q82 is not running, there's going to be no service down the portion of Hempstead from Springfield to Jamaica Avenue. There's about 3 bus stops there, and they're far apart. That's going to impact seniors, and a lot of people work the overnight shifts. And UBS Arena is a big revenue generator. I would keep the Q110, and what they should have really done with the 82. So the 82 is a rush route. But the problem with the 82, this is why I wanted the Q1 to be like a loop route. So the Q36 could do that portion of the 82 that goes down to 12th Place. And what I think is the 82 should be a limited bus down Jamaica Avenue to 179th Street to help out the Q110. The problem on Jamaica Avenue with the Q110 is that's the only route on Jamaica Avenue. So if you had a limited portion down Jamaica Avenue, for people, let's say, who live before 188th Street and they don't want to go to Parsons Archer, that's where the 82 could help. And I think the 82 should just turn on 179 and there, like the special Q110 supplemental is doing in the morning and the evening. That's what the MTA should have done. So, but leave it to the MTA to screw this one thing up. And actually, people who go to UBS Arena would probably want to start their trip at 179th, take the 82 limited. And sometimes, guys, Jamaica Avenue is actually faster in the evenings going to UBS Arena versus Hillside, because Hillside, you have all that bottleneck, you have all that traffic on Hillside. So I think they need to rethink that.
All right, just letting you know, Andy and George joined the call.
Okay, Andy and George, take it away real quick. Any comments?
Yeah, so the biggest one is, and they actually acknowledged it, and then just, you know, when they said in the comments, a comment addressed, and they just said no. So the biggest thing was, there's, just for general reference, can you, so I see Dave, Yuki, Andy, who else? Alan, Karina. Okay, so it's just the small board, right?
No, actually, there's more people on YouTube. This is being live streamed on our YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, then
let's do it quick.
I can't really go into too much detail. But
George,
basically,
why don't you cover the express bus routes? Because
right. That's exactly what I wanted to do.
Go
So
to the express. Thank you.
right. So the
QM6.
QM5, QM1, QM7, QM8, there was a whole opportunity to restructure these routes, and they actually did that in the first two renditions when they did the first plan and the second plan. And then all of a sudden at the last minute, they said, you know what, we're not making any changes. And that's we put it in that document that we sent to the MTA with the like that whole critique and everything before the public hearing. And the whole Horace Harding corridor could really use express bus service. So from 188th Street on west, so all those areas, Utopia, kind of that area by the old X51, Main Street, Casena, all those areas don't have any express bus service. And especially with congestion pricing coming in, actually, Jack or Charlton, do you have the it's in the proposal. You remember that we sent to the MTA, like the public comments? I think we actually might have
Yes,
did we
we're gonna pull up our report now. Give us a second, guys.
Yes.
Give us a second. I just want to let everyone know it's 8:23. At some point, like around 8:45, I might have to leave because I have to go for the overnight subway ride tonight. And so I have to get ready for that. So this is our report, and I encourage all of you to please read our report. George, thank you for bringing up our report. It's on our Passengers United website. So which one did you want us to go to?
Mostly the 5, the 8, really the 5 and the 8 and the 4. Those are the biggest ones because the Horace Harding Expressway west of 188th Street barely has any express bus service. And if you think about it, the Q88 connects only to a local subway station. Unlike, Forest Hills or Jackson Heights, which are express subway stations. And so, and I'm sure that QM5 loop where it goes down 73rd and then it goes up to Fresh Meadows and then it goes all the way back down to Union Turn. Exactly. You see how ridiculous that looks on a map. And in the first two plans, they were going to go 73rd, 188th, and then Horace Harding, and then get on the expressway. So
there is one thing I do want to bring up. I've spoken to a lot of bus operators who do the QM7 and the QM8. The problem is, in order for that to work, and George is right, you do need something there. We told the MTA Bridges and Tunnels, we spoke to New York State Department of Transportation, you need a bus lane there. MTA should have worked with New York State DOT to put in a bus lane on the LIE. So the express buses, even if it's on Horace Harding, get a bus lane in there. So the Q88 can benefit, the express bus can benefit, and they can go down by Horace Harding or the LIE rather than going back on Union Turnpike. And even the express portion on Union Turnpike, guess what, guys? The speed limit for New York City DOT is now 20 miles per hour. So the buses are still, even though they're not stopping to pick up passengers on the QM5 and QM6, you're still stopping at the traffic lights. What sense does this make? And then it has to go down Queens Boulevard. It does that crawl down Queens Boulevard. It drives me nuts. Just put the bus down Horace Harding, put a bus lane in, and get it going. Right, George?
Right. And the thing is, even with the like Corona, Left Rack, the eastern part of Flushing Meadows, like Chester and everything like that, those areas don't really have express bus service off peak. Like they have the 10, the 40 for a few trips during rush hour, but there's an and I wouldn't say run the 10, off peak, 7 days a week, but if you can add that on to a regular express route and expand coverage, why not?
So can I just make one point? Night owl bus service. Remember we were talking about this? I wanted a route called was it the Q89 in our report? That bus, the night owl bus that would run. My memory is jogged. Where is it? We didn't put it in our report, did we? Thought we did. Yeah, there it is. Q900. So we had an idea for a night owl bus route that would run between Times Square, 8th Avenue, and 41st Street to Queens via the Queens Midtown Tunnel and I-95, making stops along I-495 at Queens Center Mall and Q88 interchange stops. That's what we need in this bus redesign. If anyone's listening, please, elected officials, listen to what we're saying. I know you'll are watching this. And even we even had a route planned for the adjustment for the Q88. But some people told me that the Q88 should have been extended maybe past Queen Center Mall, just to connect with the buses that run a little bit further down. That could get a little dicey, but we would have to see. But I see what George is saying. You need something at all times down Horace Harding. In the mornings and days, you need an express route. At night, you need a night owl bus route. So yeah, George, take it away.
Yeah. So, that was the big thing with Horace Harding. That's a big missed opportunity. And they even acknowledged, they're like, oh, some people wanted the route and stops changed, but we didn't do it, so too bad. The QM3, they're going to just straight out eliminate that. And the thing is that I get that it runs kind of near the Long Island Railroad, but at the same
Yeah,
time,
let's go to the QM3. That's Vicky
not in the
Palladino's
report.
district.
It's not
no,
in the
you put it-
report.
well, yeah, there's nothing to do in the report because they're just going to straight out eliminate it. So in the MTA report, there's nothing to do. In our report, we put in, that it needs to have the express route maintained. So we could run down to Lower Manhattan because the Port Washington branch doesn't go to Lower Manhattan. And even like, it's not even really that convenient to Lower Manhattan. Unlike, for example, Southeast Queens, you could transfer in Jamaica, go to Atlantic Terminal. There's even a few direct trains to Brooklyn. For Eastern Queens by Northern Boulevard, you have to go to Penn Station and take the subway. So this would be, and the subway doesn't really go to the east side and everything like that. It goes mostly down the west side. So, if you did it, stop by the hospital, for example, stop by 34th, 23rd, get on the FDR, something like that, make some downtown stops. That would be a way to kind of get use out
I
of it.
agree. For the interest of time, George, why don't we just go to the other bus route? I remember the 64. There's a new bus route running on 73rd Avenue. I know you had brought up 73rd Avenue to us a lot. Let's just go there and click on that. That's a new route that goes from Queensboro Community
I want to
College.
say it's now the 74 or 75 that they put that number to. I want to say 70.
And actually, they're just restoring a portion of the 75 that was cut in the 2006 budget cuts. That's what it is. And they're calling it, so they're trying to play games with us,
You mean
guys.
2010?
Yeah, but no, it was 2006, I thought.
It was 2010. I remember that was the first time I ever spoke at a public meeting.
Oh, 2010, all right, maybe, yeah, 2010 it is. All right, so let's look at this. Let's look at the map. Go down, Jack. So they're gonna have a route from Queensboro Community College, and they're calling it a rush route, which is gonna run down Utopia Parkway to Horace Harding. What is the verdict on this, George? What do you think?
I mean, the problem is that on Utopia Parkway, on the weekends, they don't have a local bus. Well, let me correct that. The Q31 is the local, but early in the morning and late in the evening, there's no local bus. So if you look at the span of the 31 only runs, from like, I don't know, 8 in the morning to like 7 at night or something like that. And after that time, the 30 is the only one that goes down Utopia Parkway. And but the 30 doesn't make local stops.
And there was also a concern that was raised to me about the 31 deviation from in Bayside, which is going to cause a lot of problems for the students who go to Cardozo High School over there, 32nd Avenue by Utopia. That's going to be a big issue. Everyone see it? That's a discontinued.
I mean, I like the way that they had it in the plan, just, I guess the proposed final plan, because that one had it going up Utopia and then like across 32nd Avenue and like ending in Bayside. So this one that still served the high school and everything. With this one, it goes down Bell Boulevard. So I guess that was the compromise for, I guess, not running the Bell Springfield route, the 78 or anything like that. But now you
One
made it a
concern I
different.
have is that they did not add the high school supplemental trips yet again in this bus redesign. They should have added those trips in there. Am I right, Jack? Am I right, George?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You could put
Well,
them as dashed lines or something just to show that you haven't forgotten about them.
Yeah, go ahead.
just giving you a heads up, Danny's here and Andy has his.
Oh, yes,
hand raised.
Mr. Chairman, Andy, our chairman, Danny Nankumar is here, who's on our board of directors. Karina just made a comment about the Q25. What about the Q25 to College Point? Let's just quickly go there.
All right, Andy, I see your hand. We'll get right to you.
We'll get to you. Q25, Casino de Parsons Boulevard, limited. Service between College Point and Jamaica. Let's look at the map. So we actually had our first bus meeting in College Point. College Point is our baby, right? College Point. I love all of you in College Point. Let's show some love to College Point. So College Point, I think, was able to keep the 25, right? We were able to, yeah, they kept the 25. It's still
Yeah,
running.
but they got rid of bus stops.
But they got rid of bus stops. Let's look at the bus stops in College Point. How many stops they got rid of over there?
Every other.
Yeah, that sucks. And we're gonna work with Vicky Palladino, City Councilwoman, to get those stops restored. That is an issue. Let's look at the 65. Because I
By
think
the way,
there
just
was one-
speaking of College Point, they didn't include any express service to College Point like we requested before. We said that there's a good chance to extend the QM10 and the 11 and the 40, or at least one of those routes, to give some express bus service there, because they're out of the College Point depot. And
Yes, that's a good
they're
point,
just gonna
George.
loop around Left Rack.
George is right. That is an excellent point. Because I remember we were trying to get the QM3 to stop in College Point, weren't we, George?
No, it was the 10, the 40, or the 11, because the 3 was Northern Boulevard. We were trying to save the QM3 so Northern Boulevard wouldn't lose all the express service. College Point is separate. That never had express service, but it should.
Yeah, this is unacceptable, guys. Really unacceptable. I wish you guys had come earlier so we could have gotten this going. But yeah, so the 65 is not running into College Point anymore. It's ending at Flushing Main Street and it's going down to Jamaica. So yeah, guys,
Yeah.
this is a big issue.
Andy, did you want to say anything? Because I know you were waiting.
Andy, quickly, because we gotta end.
Okay, I just want to acknowledge two things. First of all, the Q31, the MTA specifically was looking into improving reliability. Now, it's not too late for I just want to mention, if any student from Bayside High School is watching this is your last chance to make your voices heard if you want to save your bus service. So reach out to Vicky Palladino. Vicky's going to handle this if you have any questions or concerns, or even go to her office on Franny Lou, because I understand there's a lot of angry students who are not thrilled that they are losing direct bus service. So I agree with what George was saying on that. And one quick point, I don't know if the Q76 was mentioned earlier, but I'm not happy with the MTA not having the route go on 20th Avenue, and I told Chairman Lieber this on Wednesday. But the bottom is, you're really going to make people walk from 14th Avenue just to access the shopping plaza. So I still hope the MTA can fix that at the very last minute. 'Cause it's not.
All right, Andy, thank you so much. We got your comment. So there's a lot of things that have to be done. I think we're pressed for time tonight. Guys, we just wanted to give you a quick reaction to what's been going on, but here's what we will be doing. We're gonna be plastering up bus stops. We're gonna be out in buses, talking to people. Guys, we only have a matter of what, 3 or 4 weeks before the MTA board votes on this. What is the dates that they're voting on this, Jack? Is it the 27th and the 28th of January? Because that's what I thought it was. I believe it is. We're gonna look it up right now.
Yep.
29th, the 27th is the committee meetings, and the 29th is the board meeting.
All right, David, thank you. So 27th and 29th is when they're doing it.
Just
Guys,
as a general thing, the one thing, we have to, whenever anything happens at the last minute, as in life and in general, and especially with the MTA, it doesn't turn out good. You notice this addendum, they fix one problem and then they make another problem. So it's going to be something that we're going to just have to be prepared for and be aware of, that whatever you ask for, be as specific as possible, because if there's a chance that they could take your bus and put it to adjust it to serve something that you need, and all of a sudden some other area is completely left without any service. It's happened on Staten Island. We see even the Q31 right on the thing. It's like, oh, to fix the gap on Bell, they put the 31 back there, and then they made another gap. So just everybody be aware of that when you ask, to be as specific as possible.
fine. So that's why, guys, one of the things I'm suggesting is that we start going to all these elected officials' offices and really talking to the staffers and chief of staff. We're going to be doing a lot of that over the next few weeks. I know it's Christmas, and unfortunately, this week and next week is pretty much lost. Everyone will be back after New Year's, but we're going to be asking the governor to halt the vote till February or March. I really think it should be March or April, because we don't know what the effects of congestion pricing will bring.
Well,
And I-
also, we were promised another public hearing by Jano. And by moving the vote to January, he basically just lied to the public.
Unless he's gonna have it the day before the board vote, which more likely they'll probably do. But this whole thing has been shenanigan. So again, guys, we're gonna have another presentation on the Queens bus redesign. I think we're gonna do it after everyone comes back in January. What are you thinking?
Yeah, sometime then we will definitely keep you posted. Stay tuned. Remember, we're on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are launching on Blue Sky as well. So definitely stay tuned.
Yeah, and we're also gonna be doing smaller videos. We'll be talking to people on our Twitter, on our YouTube. I will be doing individual videos on these bus routes. It's a lot to do, guys. We're covering a lot, and we need more volunteers. We need volunteers involved in Passengers United. So if you want to volunteer with us, you need to go to our website, and you can click on, and Jack's pulling it up right now. All aboard, we need volunteers. So if you apply on our website, we're gonna send you a training link to our training course. I'd fill out that form as you're looking at it on the YouTube stream. Fill out the form. Tell us what you're good at. We'll enroll you in an online training course, which you can take at your own leisure. And then once you complete the training course, we give you a certificate, and we're gonna put you out in the field to work. So many of you follow us on Twitter. We're grateful. And remember, we're all volunteers at Passengers United. None of us get paid to do this. Meanwhile, you have other organizations with millions of dollars. They haven't read the plan, and all they focused on is congestion pricing, open streets, and they haven't done anything for our community. And it's a shame. They're actually gonna hurt communities in transit deserts. And they actually put, when was it, a year ago or 2 years ago? They
Yeah,
put
it was bus
ads.
shelter ads.
Bus
So
shelter ads.
we'll see what happens, but if anyone from those organizations are watching right now, I'm gonna give you the best piece of advice I'm gonna give you. This year, don't say a word about the bus redesigns. Again, it will not end well for you.
Right, and not only that, it's Brooklyn too. Oh,
Yeah.
and people in Brooklyn and
Any of
Manhattan, you guys need to be watching. And also, did you want to make a call? You made a comment at the beginning of the video about the Bronx bus redesign. Why don't you repeat that
Yeah,
again?
so I'm just gonna make
About the
one
FOIL
quick,
request.
one quick comment before we sign off, because I know it's 8:40. So just a couple days ago, I submitted a FOIL request for the Title VI equity analysis for the Bronx bus network redesign, because I'm seeing it nowhere on the MTA's website. They're saying they're gonna do one for Queens, but how can I be convinced that they're actually gonna do it when I received, guess what I received from the MTA in response to that FOIL request? I got the Title VI equity analysis for the MBTA's bus network redesign initiative in Boston. I'm sorry, you can't just, that's not how it works. You can't just plagiarize another transit agency's Title VI analysis and call it your own. So I submitted an appeal, And now they're saying that they're gonna take 90 days, 90 business days to actually get me a copy, when it should be on the MTA's website.
Wait, they took the MBTA's thing for their system, or
Yes,
did
yes,
they use the
George.
methodology?
I hope this was an error, because if this wasn't an error, I think we caught them in something. This cannot be the case. I'm not convinced. First of all, I don't know how they have access to it, and it just perplexes me how on the day after I submitted that FOIL request, they immediately sent me that PDF from the MBTA.
And real quick, Jack has been wonderful. We really have to give Jack Narenberg a round of applause and all of our members. But Jack, thank you so much. Jack has been through so much with the MT, including me. Every day behind the scenes, we're doing work, we're filing requests, we're filing documents. I've already spoken to some leaders in our community, and we're working to get this plan stopped. One thing I want to stress that's different about Queens and Brooklyn is the MT bus company gets federal funding. Therefore, they have to qualify with federal standards
Yep.
adopted by
Not
the Federal
only-
Transit Administration.
The Federal Transit Administration, not only Title VI, but also ADA. And if they're non-compliance with any of them, let alone Title VI, then that's gonna be an issue. And I'm already in, there's already stuff going on. I'm not gonna say any more about it.
Yeah, and so we're working with that. We've also reached out to an attorney. And like I said, we will sue. Now, the worst thing that could happen is the MT goes through with this plan. Let's say they approve the plan in January. You know what's gonna happen? When this plan goes into effect, and I know, because I rode the Q110, I was, in the morning, and I was talking to the passengers on the Q110. Many of them said, what's a bus redesign? What is happening? They didn't know, and I have a feeling a lot of people don't know. You know what's gonna happen? On day one of this bus redesign in the summertime or whenever they launch this, it's gonna turn out to be an epic public relations disaster for the MTA. And what's gonna end up happening is all the electeds, everyone's gonna play the blame game, saying, oh, we didn't know, nobody told us. No, BS. All of you knew and all of you were compliant in
And
not.
all of them
addressing
were
this.
there.
Yeah,
All of them
Yeah.
were there too. They're complicit.
and they're sending the
Exactly.
staffers to a public hearing because they want to be bothered with the public. The thing about the bus redesign that pissed me off the most was the Queensborough president, Donovan Richards, not coming to the meeting to listen to what we had to say at the public hearing. However, he had the audacity to have a press conference before the event with the MTA. So basically, he's been promoting the MTA, saying this is a great plan. You do not work for the MTA. You work for the constituents of Queens. Do your job and help the seniors and the people with limited mobility who are gonna lose their bus stops.
And are gonna be, again, disproportionately affected because their travel times that are gonna be greatly increasing are gonna be double that of those who are able-bodied. That's just an estimate based on a preliminary study that I did, but it's true that, of course, there's more research to be done, but based on the preliminary information, exactly, Alan, they want to make it seem that 9 new routes mean more service. It is not the case, and we're not going to be seeing travel time improvements because of this increased last mile distance. Yeah, we got to those.
Oh, you got Yuki?
That's on our
Alan, we
list.
cannot comment on that point that you made yet, because we don't want the MTA to know what we're doing. But we've been doing a lot of stuff, guys. And one thing I will tell you about the Q110, for those of you in Southeast Queens, you can be rest assured, we will be having a rally and a protest outside Natasha Williams' office, Leroy Comrie, who knows me very well, and what's his name? Clyde Vanell, and Community Board 13 and Community Board 12. Because 13, like I said, a lot of these community board members, they don't ride the buses either, guys. This is the dilemma we're dealing with. And what angered me with the Queens Bus Redesign Plan was they invited all the electeds to have a meeting before they released the plan to the public. And they didn't invite the advocacy groups. Well, actually not us. We weren't even invited to the press conference, but the other advocacy groups, the other so-called advocacy groups were, and they actually support the plan. So it seems
They blindly support it.
Right, exactly. All right, guys, so it's 8:45. We gotta end this, unfortunately, because I have to go to another event. I just wanted to thank all of you for being here. Maybe we should give 1 minute wrap up. Did anyone have a comment that who didn't have a chance to comment? I think David, let's give David the closing. David, please make this on point, David.
Oh, one last thing I want to say about is about the Rockaways.
Hurry up, David.
Well, they're cutting back to Q22 and shifting to Q35. The MTA claims that the
You did
change
mention
was
that.
well received. But for argument's sake, let's assume the shifting to Q35 was well received. The only logical explanation for the change would be that a few well-connected people in Bell Harbor and Neponset used the redesign process to finally remove bus service along Newport Avenue. If this is true, and I hope otherwise, then these people should be ashamed of themselves. Plain and simple.
That's a good point.
Right.
Our chairman, Danny Nankumar. Mr. Chairman, are you there? I guess maybe he's busy.
Yes, I'm here, yeah.
Okay, let's go to Alan, because Chairman Alan, did you want to say anything in closing? I mean, not Chairman Alan, I'm sorry, my mind is off. No, Chairman Danny, you're good. Alan Rosen, our board member, go ahead. Sorry, guys, I haven't eaten anything, I'm tired. Alan, you want to say anything in closing?
Alan, you there?
All right, let's go to George in closing. George, take it away.
All right, just one other quick thing. In the Rockaways, notice that after a whole bunch of complaints about no service in Bayswater, they said, oh, we're gonna extend 2 trips a day or reroute or branch or something, 2 trips a day of the Q22. And I'm like, 2 trips a day, I know that the Q22A many years ago was like a school trip that ran once in the morning and once at night, but come on, that's a whole neighborhood. You can't just, that's a slap in the face. You're going to give them service twice a day. I mean, come on, give them a full rush hour at least, give them a full, some midday, give them something, not, whatever. 2 trips a day is better than 0 trips a day, but I mean, they got to be more active when they, when they do these things.
Got it. Let's just quickly go to Andy. Andy, take it away, Andy.
Okay, couple things two things I'll quickly mention. Number one, Q34, again, that's getting cut. I don't understand why the MTA is doing that. Another thing I want to mention, at least the good news is with our advocacy, the good news is the Q8 got saved. So at least the bus service from Jamaica to Gateway Plaza, that's going to be saved, thank goodness. And the Q30 going from Jamaica to Little Neck, that got saved. So at least there's some good. And again, this is still a mess, and I'm hoping we're going to have more discussions on this bus redesign going.
I'm glad you brought that up again, Andy, because in the report that I saw on the day it was released, it showed the Q8 ending at the 3-line station. Now, all of a sudden, so the MT sent an email saying that they had a different version of the report sent out. So we all have to make sure we're reading the right versions. This is another thing. They can't even do that right, guys. You think they could just put out a report right? God help us all, man. MTA, money thrown away, guys. Money taken away. Monopoly, totalitarian authority. What other words you want to say for the It's true, right?
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Okay, all right, guys. So let's close it out. We will have another meeting on or about January 3rd or January 4th.
We will keep you posted.
And for those of you who want to work on our final report for Passengers United on the bus redesign, we might have a meeting during the holidays. We'll let you know. Guys, I have to go for my subway ride, which starts at 9:45, and I got to get out of here. On behalf of all of us, Jack Narenberg, Frida Nieves, David Kupferberg, Alan Rosen, Danny Nankumar. Who else am I forgetting? George. Who else? Everyone. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I know Karina has been involved. Karina's been doing a lot with Q10, the 37, Andy too, and Yuki Endo joining us from Japan. Good old Yuki. Yuki is with us tonight. Yuki, we miss you, Yuki. We wish you were back here. Because I know Yuki would be putting letters and flyers all over the bus stops. Yuki, I don't know what time it is in Japan, but thank you for joining us. Guys, thank you. And please stay tuned to our Twitter page, our website, and all that for all the good news. And we'll also be posting videos on YouTube. Again, good night. And thank you to Jack Narenberg for everything.
Folks, again, thank you so much for joining us. Please stay tuned. We will keep you posted about what's happening next.
Yep.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.